All those in favor of electing Councilmember Gabe Albornoz as the council president, please raise your hand. There we go. That is unanimous. Never forget to vote for yourself. Congratulations, Council President Albornoz.
2022 was a year of recovery and great progress in Montgomery County. I was proud to lead this council through a year of immense challenges, working collaboratively with my colleagues to push forward major initiatives to address public safety and health, as well as tackle inequities in our county to ensure that no one gets left behind.
I look forward to working with him to make progress on our entire shared agenda, including our work to fully live out our values as an inclusive community.
Like communities across the nation, Montgomery County is working to enhance public safety. One of my top priorities is getting unlicensed and ghost guns off our streets in partnership with the Montgomery County Department of Police and our County State's Attorney's Office. We went as far as we could go given the parameters that have been laid out as the precedents that has now been set in making it increasingly difficult for local jurisdictions to keep our own residents safe. With unanimous support of my colleagues, I introduced legislation that will help to ensure we do everything possible to minimize the number of guns in our streets and in public spaces. This legislation would prohibit the possession of firearms in or near places of public assembly.
Important for us to, as aggressively as we can, enact legislation that prevents harmful weapons such as ghost guns from getting into the hands of those most vulnerable, especially our youth.
This bill follows unanimous passage of legislation I sponsored last year that restricts the sale and transfer of ghost guns to minors. This was the first legislation of its kind in Maryland, and this year, state legislators followed suit by voting to implement a statewide ban on ghost guns. I am both proud and, as a dad of 4 kids, very grateful.
Gun violence, unfortunately, is just on the rise nationwide. And we know gun violence is manifested in many different ways. We see it with suicides, homicides, unintentional shootings, school shootings, and domestic violence. We are very happy that the council has been proactive in their approaches. This is really important. We were so grateful that at a local level, they were able to step in and try to get ahead of this problem. Upon the Supreme Court decision, we are waiting for states to respond, but obviously a local jurisdiction can move a little more swiftly, and we're looking forward to seeing some tightened regulations around that issue.
There is obviously legislation at the national level that finally gives us a little bit of hope that there is a light at the end of this awful dark tunnel.
That was a great event that was in recognition of National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which is the first Friday of June every year.
We are taking steps at the state and local level to ensure that we prevent gun violence in our community.
For the last several years, the council has been really great in doing a proclamation on that day, and then hosting the breakfast was a really wonderful tribute, I think, for many of our survivors who attended, and just to really show that this is something of importance and to raise awareness about this day.
This council has also been actively engaged to ensure that policing in Montgomery County remains transparent, accountable, and safe for every member of our community. I was proud to lead the council in adopting groundbreaking legislation that fully engaged community stakeholders, law enforcement, and advocates to create a civilian board that will promote trust, impartiality, and accountability in cases of police misconduct. The council provided nearly $500,000 to support the newly established Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee, which will help build trust and support our youth, families, and law enforcement alike in the wake of racial and social justice. As council president, one of the biggest responsibilities is leading the council through the complex budget process and putting together a well-rounded spending plan that keeps Montgomery County moving forward. Under our leadership, the council unanimously passed the county's $6.3 billion budget for FY23 and funded the Board of Education's record $2.9 billion request. This budget is one of the most robust budgets we have ever seen, with historic investments in our schools, affordable housing, green initiatives, and measures that will strengthen our economy. Altogether, the FY23 budget set the foundation for what is most important to all of us: a community with excellent schools, housing for all of our residents, strong economic development, green spaces for recreation and relaxation, safe neighborhoods, robust libraries, a community with strong public health supports, and where seniors can age with grace and dignity, a healthy environment, and a safety net that ensures food, housing, and health for all of our vulnerable residents. As the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, I was especially proud of the investments we made in public health, and particularly our investments in mental health services and initiatives that make healthcare services more accessible for all residents.
It has been a wonderful partnership with Council President Albornoz this year and with him as the chair of the HHS committee. We've accomplished a lot with his guidance and leadership and with his cooperation. When I think about the mental health issues in the county, one of the things that stands out for me is the implementation of our new 988 call center. We went from a variety of different call centers to a 988 national call center hotline that was mandated by the federal government, stood up by the state. But one of the things the council did was added some support under Council President Albornoz. And that adding of support allowed us to take that call center to 24 hours and add a text line to it, which is something that is important. It seems like a very small thing, but it is very important because the people that we deal with don't all want to talk to us on the phone. Increasingly, I text, you text, a lot of folks text, and sometimes that's an easier, less threatening way for people to reach out. One of the things that has happened as a result of that, we went live in July, and there has been a 250% increase in the number of text calls alone that has come into the 988 system. So that's available for people, and they can find it online, or they can simply dial 988 and they get to us. That 988 service is averaging right now over 1,000 suicide assessments a month, and that leads to 50 to 60 interventions a month for our residents.
If there's one lesson we learned during the pandemic, it's that we must go deep into communities and increase community trust by providing culturally competent care and meeting people where they are.
COVID-19 has been a national and global nightmare for everyone. The work that we have done in collaboration with the county council, the county executive, our partners, has been phenomenal. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is the work that council did in creating For Nuestra Salud y Bienestar, the African American Health Program, and the Asian American Health Initiative, designed to make sure that our communities who were most harshly impacted by this virus actually had access to vaccines and testing equipment and PPE, hand sanitizer and such when it was available. That helped us to really address the health disparity that was clearly and made vivid as a result of the pandemic.
The council supported the outstanding work of our minority health initiatives and programs and approved more than $12 million for the continuation of their essential delivery of services.
There have been considered efforts, particularly in the establishment of Asian, African American, and Latino initiatives. And these initiatives have focused specifically on addressing the inequities and disparities among these three populations. So I think that has made a significant change in the investments that have been made by the county, in particular by Councilmember Albornoz, have really made a difference in how we address the inequities among these populations. And in particularly when the COVID pandemic hit, the fact that we have these minority programs in place made a huge difference to the county.
We also funded multiple mental health initiatives and social services for high school students, including an increase of $3.7 million for mental health and case management services at 10 priority high schools without an existing wellness center. We also added $5.5 million to expand mental health case management and positive youth development services through the Street Outreach Network and community-based providers to all high schools without an existing high school wellness center program.
The mental health of our youth, including our youngest children, our infants and toddlers and preschoolers, has been really an urgent concern for Councilmember Albornoz, as it is for myself and my staff in HHS. Council President Albornoz, partnering with Councilmember Navarro, chose to add high school wellness centers to all of the public high schools in the county, which is a big jump for us. those high school wellness centers are going to take some time to come online. So the other thing that they did was they added staff to our positive youth development and our street outreach teams so that we have mental health teams that are going into schools where there aren't high school wellness centers now, but also into communities where violence has erupted and where there's a need to try to create some peace.
An ongoing priority of mine and many of us has been addressing the most critical yet most basic needs of our residents. Food insecurity continues to be a significant need across our country, and ending childhood hunger has been a top priority during my presidency. I and the council supported an effort to provide more than $1 million to create the new Office of Food System Resiliency, and $4 million in one-time funding to continue the county's response to this need.
8.6% of Montgomery County residents, according to Feeding America, are food insecure, which means that they don't know where their next meal is necessarily going to come from, where they have to, cut corners to feed themselves. And that's 90,000 plus residents in a county of, more than 1 million. And so that's a significant number of people, even in what's defined as a relatively affluent community, that are experiencing food insecurity. And we have a responsibility to those residents to make sure that their needs are met. Council President Albornoz has been a tremendous partner throughout the entire pandemic, food, COVID. Obviously, as the former director of the Department of Recreations in the county, he was incredibly familiar with a lot of the work that we were doing early in the pandemic to keep people fed. Much of the feeding that we did was through our rec centers and similar type of facilities. And so obviously he had a natural connections there. And that sort of led into really trying to institutionalize some of the experiences that we had during COVID and the lessons that we've learned through the Office of Food Systems Resilience. So he was an incredible advocate during the pandemic and obviously in ensuring that the office was going to continue after the pandemic was over.
In addition, I introduced a special appropriation to develop a county government strategic plan to address childhood hunger, which will build upon the strategies in the county food security plan and strengthen it with community feedback.
One of the things that I appreciate most about the council president's leadership is the way he turned to the community and saw the resources that we have in Montgomery County that makes it so that no child in our county should be hungry. And we have the tools and resources that we need to end childhood hunger. And his goals were ambitious, but achievable.
We can end food insecurity for children here in Montgomery County.
We have incredible inequities in our community, everything from educational attainment to health outcomes. And the council president wants to be sure that every resident has what they need to succeed and to thrive.
Investing in our next generation is the best thing we can do to maintain our county's competitive edge and prepare strategically for the future. As such, we supported the level funding of $10.9 million for early care and education and passed legislation to establish an independent early care and education coordinating entity. This organization will focus on systemic issues related to accessible, high quality, and sustainable early care and education to empower more parents to join in the workforce, provide a solid educational foundation for children, help employers attract and retain talented people, and ensure a talented future workforce to help spur Montgomery County's economy for generations.
The early child care dilemma that has faced the nation really got put on steroids during this pandemic. And the business community really saw how important it was to have quality child care, because if you don't, you're going to lose half your workforce. And I think part of the leadership that Gabe, Councilmember Albornoz, has been engaged in is recognizing that this was not just something government was going to be able to solve, that they needed to have partnership with industry. They needed to have partnership with the providers in a different way than they had previously. They needed to have a different perspective on how the school system deals with them and how the Department of Health and Human Services deals with them.
Chairman Rice, well, it's been an honor to be a co-lead on this with you and Councilmember Navarro with the support of all of our colleagues.
Their leadership was important. And again, this is under Gabe's watch. He's the council president and directing resources and funds and leaning in on this work, I think was incredibly important. Creating this independent nonprofit was a great idea.
As the former director of the county's recreation department, I have witnessed firsthand how sports positively transforms our youth, improves mental health, and instills life skills that will help guide them on the right path.
How can we help each other meet our goals?
As council president, I took steps to further equity, and opportunities for our youth in sports by introducing initiatives to expand opportunities for girls in sports.
It's time to play ball.
We funded $250,000 for the expansion of girls' sports leagues and passed an additional $100,000 special appropriation for the expansion of sports leagues that are popular with girls, increasing access for historically underserved populations. The special appropriation provides initial funding to create affordable and accessible opportunities in sports that are popular with girls. This initiative will continue the department's long-term vision of sports equity and ensure that all children and youth, especially our girls, gain equal access to recreational sports, programming opportunities, and quality sports venues.
We know the incredible benefits that sports provide to all of our children and youth, but in particular girls. It helps increase leadership skills. It helps increase so many other skills that our girls need to be successful today and tomorrow.
2022 was a year of recovery and opportunity for Montgomery County. While at times this year we have faced challenges and obstacles, I have never felt more confident about the future of our county. We have pushed forward just social policies and worked to ensure that everything is done through an equity lens. And I've borne witness to the principle that we succeed when we all succeed.
This is going to be the last vote of the 19th Council. Everyone, please raise your hands.
It has truly been my honor to serve with an outstanding group of passionate, intelligent, and thoughtful leaders, each with a shared commitment to ensuring that Montgomery County remains a world-class inclusive community for individuals to live, work, or start a business, raise a family, and age in place. I especially want to pay tribute to my colleagues who will be leaving the council this year. Council members Tom Hucker, Nancy Navarro, Hans Riemer, and Craig Rice. Each leave their own unique and lasting legacies that have truly made a difference in the lives of our residents and will help move our community and our institution of the council into the future. Thank you so much.